Good day everyone, we are Group 4 and today we will be discussing about global migration and citizenship. And here are the group members. First we have Mark Lester Chico, Toby Apdujan, Jeanne Ashley Bai, Krischelle Cawigan, Jose Anthony Creer, Roan Cruz, Alyssa Garcia, Bea Garcia, and Ryan Mediavillo. And to start our presentation, here is Toby Apdujan.
So, what is global migration? It is the movement of people who traverse international borders and spend a particular amount of time in another country or state. Depending on the circumstance, such as seeking out better employment possibilities and livelihood, or avoiding conflict and natural disasters, global migration can either be voluntary or forced. In here, most global migration is from developing countries to developed ones, and this freedom of movement is a protected human right. So, why do people migrate? For push factors, these are the reasons that can make the migrants want to relocate. Some examples of push factors are conflict, drought, famine, low economic activity, few job opportunities, and more. For pull factors, they are the reasons that draw people to migrate to another country or state. Opportunities for better jobs, higher incomes, and improved working conditions are some examples of pull factors. Although some other reasons for global migration can be things like family reunification.
Next, for the trends of migration, one of the sources of the large level of immigration is obvious. There are substantial differences between rich and poor countries, and these differences have not really closed very much over time. You can see that there has been some convergence, mainly because of the rapid growth of India and China, which get a lot of weight in the lower income countries. They have a desire, many of them, to move to rich countries. So that is one fundamental source of migration that has continued and will continue to exist into the future. Another factor, particularly important for Europe, is low fertility. Relatively few children are being born. In virtually every single European country, East, Central, and Western Europe, the total fertility rate is below the replacement rate. Most immigrants are young, and a combination of these two factors with a difference in income explain the great pressure for a lot of people to move and better themselves and their children. So given those factors, low incomes combined with low birth rates that are mainly in the richer countries in the world, you see a great pressure to move. And we can see what happened to global migration.
Moving on to the types of migration, the first one is internal migration, which is any movement from one place to another in the same country. So while internal migration can occur from any place in a country to any other place in the same country, there are some characteristics that are the same in any instance in internal migration. These aspects include motivating factors for migration to one's home region. These can be referred to as push factors. On the other hand, motivating factors for migration to another region, which can be referred to as pull factors. The last one is resources to enable movement from one region of a country to another. The second type of migration is international migration, which is any movement from one country to another, and the movement of people across international borders for the purpose of settlement. Next are the types of migrants. First one is asylum seeker, which are the migrants who had to abandon their home countries after being unwillingly displaced due to the threat of death or persecution. They also seek for global protection, and their refugee status hasn't been granted. The second type of migrants are refugees. These migrants are the ones that are successful in obtaining asylum. They now have refugee status, allowing them to settle permanently in a new country. The last type is economic migrant. These people cross international borders in search of a more profitable job abroad.
understanding changes in scale, emerging trends, and shifting demographics related to global, social, and economic transformations such as migration help us make sense of the changing world we live in and plan for the future. The current global estimate is that there were around 281 million international migrants in the world in 2020, which equates to 3.6% of the global population. Overall, the estimated number of international migrants has increased over the past 5 decades. Number of migrants around the world continuously increases, and the leading countries that have the highest number of migrants are Europe, Asia, North America, Africa, Latin America, and the Caribbean and Oceania, respectively, and this order remained constant from the year 1990 up until the 2020 statistics. 52% of migrants globally are male, and the 42% are females of the global migrant population on the 2020 statistics. Next, what is illegal immigration? It refers to the movement of population across national borders in which immigration laws of the recipient country are not respected. Illegal immigrants are people who are not authorized to live in a country. Sometimes people cross borders without authorization, and on other occasions, migrants simply stay in a country beyond the period they were initially permitted to remain. However, often their circumstances are recognized by the authorities and they become legal migrants through a regularization process. In other cases, migrants, pushed by economic and political problems, remain in a country knowing that they are violating immigration laws. Illegal immigration is a critical problem in many countries, even in Japan. Some people in a country illegally, such as in the UK, the USA, or Germany, will reason that if they became legal by paying the entry fee, they would have much better opportunities than illegal immigrants. Illegal immigrants can work, but they are limited in the type of jobs they can have. They are in the underground economy pretty much entirely.
So next is for the global citizenship, which is the next level after migration. So first, what is global citizenship? Excuse me. Global citizenship, it entails being aware of how interconnected the world is and how each individual who makes up the world is a citizen of humanity, which is in a rapid globalization has made the world smaller because international interactions are occurring more frequently, and because the experiences of those living in other parts of the world are now shared by our neighbors. The world is integrating into a single global village. Similarly, no single country can now resolve the modern world's political, economic, and social problems. We must feel a sense of shared responsibility and work together as a global citizen, and also to find solutions if we are to address these problems. And as I have said earlier, that this is the next stage of migration, which is the adaptation of the migrants, which is being a permanent citizen of that said nation or particular country. So
Now, moving on for the citizen. It implies the individual's rights to participate in politics in a city or a nation. When the word global is now added, the individual's identity is now expanded to include all nations and regions. This indicates that a citizen of a world has obligations and rights that come along with being a member of the human race. Now, moving on, in the past, Aristotle once said that a good citizen must have the ability and wisdom to govern in order
in moderation, and prudence, and knowledge of what is right. Therefore, in relation to this, a global citizen has the morality and wisdom necessarily to govern the world.
How can we create such a world peace? As the 20th century ended, hopes for a world where all citizens could live in harmony were high. National barriers are now lower than ever, but the interests of the great powers still prevail in international politics in the 21st century. Global inequality is a result of transnational capital, and there are also countless regional conflicts and a looming threat of deadly terrorism. We need to raise the next generation to be global citizens who can promote humanity if we want to bring about a world of peace. In addition, one of the solutions is education, which is geared toward peaceful coexistence, is essential in a globalized and interdependent society. Our future generations can strengthen their sense of global citizenship through education that promotes sustainable development, such as education about different cultures, peace, human rights, poverty, inequalities, and climate change. Moreover, international regulation and cooperation are increasingly necessary. And with this, future generations who will influence our future will need to approach issues from the perspective of a global citizen, as this will be the first step toward world peace. What are the characteristics of a global citizen? The first one is they sees the world as a whole and understands the global issues. They are outraged by injustice, assumes responsibility for their own actions, is willing to make the world a more sustainable place to live in, and lastly, they have a wider or broader understanding of how the world works as a whole with regards to politics, economics, social status, technology, and the environment. All of these attributes, which are believed to be embodied by a global citizen, can be learned through education, especially one that emphasizes the global and multicultural components.
Moving on, how does education become the key aspect in honing an individual to become a global citizen? The learner's perspective on the consequences of his or her own behavior in other cultures and the implication of other people's actions on their own is improved by education that emphasizes global and multicultural competence. Prejudices and biases are reduced as a result of global education, since it exposes students to a wide range of customs and lifestyles from all walks of life. In the process of creating global citizens, global education makes us more conscious and respectful of the differences and similarities in society. It aims to equip citizens with the knowledge, skills, understanding, and attitudes to live and contribute in a diverse community. Global education strengthens the sense of being part of a community where individual and collective rights and responsibilities are known, understood, and respected by all, and create a feeling where one feels one should participate in common decisions and promoting a democratic feeling in social justice. Also, global education creates citizens who are aware of global realities and knowledge and acknowledge the need for continued human rights, dialogue, and cooperation. So aside from the learners, there are also people around them who can create a big impact in the development of a person to become a global citizen. Hence, here are the roles of the microsystems such as families, friends, schools, and communities in the global citizenship. In order to establish a global viewpoint and perspective, the participation of microsystems like families and local communities is extremely important. Global education, in a sense, must be comprehensive, involving not just educators but also parents, peers, and even policymakers in their efforts. In a way, global education emphasizes teaching values as well as life skills, which will help students develop a broader and more comprehensive understanding of the global society and improve their ability to communicate with individuals from different cultural backgrounds.
Moving on, in the 21st century world, Global citizenship is no longer a choice but a necessity. Individuals, particularly youths, need to be cognizant of the workings of the world as well as the issues facing their fellow citizens, because this awareness is what will enable collective commitment and action towards sustainable development. Global citizenship offers a myriad of attractive benefits both for the global citizen and the world around him or her. Global citizenship helps young people to develop a personal awareness of global events. Becoming a global citizen means developing a keen awareness of what is happening in the world. Being in the know allows you to spot problematic trends or phenomena and take action no matter how small it may be. Whatever it is, taking action is definitely better than doing nothing, and it would not be possible without a clear awareness of what is going on around the world. Global citizenship also helps young people to consider their principles and what matters to them. By learning about the world, you will inevitably discover new facets of yourself that may not have been apparent to you before. Getting to know yourself and the forces that drive you to get out of bed every single day can help you better understand yourself, select the best career path for you, and more importantly, decide what kind of global citizen you want to be. Global citizenship also helps young people to introduce learning to the outside world and stand against ignorance and intolerance. Other advantages of global citizenship includes helps young people to participate in the local, national, and international communities, establish an argument and express their viewpoints, and most importantly, global citizenship helps young people to recognize their ability to impact their environment and take action. Young people can be catalysts for change. Youth perspectives and experiences are too often missing from the conversations that determine what their communities will look like. But when young people step up and speak up, people notice and decision makers listen. Making change takes energy and youth have plenty of it. Their natural enthusiasm and passion are often the spark that keeps social progress moving forward. A global citizen is someone who sees themselves as part of an emerging sustainable world community and whose actions support the values and practices of that community. Many people today identify with being global citizens as more and more aspects of their lives become globalized. Being a global citizen does not mean that you have to give up the other citizenship identities you already have. Being a global citizen just means that you have another layer of identity added on to who you are. And if you take that identity seriously, there are a new set of rights and responsibilities that come with it. Global citizens are grounded with equal liberty, equality, and equity. They have the responsibility to understand one's own perspective and the perspectives of others on global issues. They also have the responsibility to respect the principle of cultural diversity, the responsibility to make connections and build relationships with people from other countries and cultures, the responsibility to understand the ways in which the peoples and countries of the world are interconnected and interdependent, the responsibility to advocate for greater international cooperation with other nations, the responsibility for advocating for the implementation of international agreements, conventions, treaties related to global issues. And lastly, the responsibility for advocating for more effective global equity and justice in each of the value domains of the world community. With that, I'd like to end our presentation with a quote from George Santayana: "A man's feet should be planted in his country, but his eyes should survey the world."
And that concludes our presentation. Thank you, and this is our reference. Thank you, and God bless.